Like every newspaper in the country, the San Francisco Chronicle about once a year poses a question that everybody in San Francisco just cannot figure out. So they write one of these really long articles to explain why they can't figure it out. The question is, why are so many more black people arrested than white people? Why are black people 10 times more likely to be arrested in San Francisco than a white person? Why? Why? So that's the question they ask. But they don't tell you this, but there's something really they inject into every word, every sentence, every paragraph, and through the whole article. They inject the answer. They inject an assumption that underlies the entire tone of the article, and that is, black people and white people commit the same amount of crime. Everybody knows that. Parentheses. And do you really have the guts to stand up in public to say black people commit more crime than white people? Because if you do, we will end your career in the public square, parentheses. That's the underlying assumption of the article, one they don't have the nerve to even hint at. Of course, in a little light at the end of the tunnel, the article in the comments, I saw when I got the article, there were like 30 comments in there. About 28 of them were of that ilk, which is, I know why there's more black people arrested, because they commit more crime. Of course, the article goes through all the other different things, like they're arresting almost 50% fewer people in California than they were just a couple years ago. These stubborn rates, they go to all the quote-unquote experts. Well, these darn rates between black people and white people are really stubborn. Hey, by the way, and this is something I've been saying for a long time. Remember, I lived out there for 35 years in the great state of California. When you live in Southern California, and by the way, I also spent a lot of time at the immigration department. One of my buddies was one of the guys who ran the place, so I was down there a lot. So believe me, my eyes are open on what's happening at the border. Been there more than most anybody. But in Southern California, nobody sits around and talks about this Hispanic level of criminality so wildly out of proportion. Yes, people know people coming across the border, they're not all angels, 100%. But in this article, one thing it did interestingly show is that the racial disparity in people being arrested between white people and Hispanic people, well, there's not really much of a gap there. I think maybe for every one white person arrested, the rate for Hispanics is like 1.1 or something like that. But the black rate in arrest rate is 10 times greater in the Bay Area. It's the exact same story that we see in every school district in America that we do here probably once a week. Some reporter picks up this study from the local school district or their local police department and they go, wow, black people are being arrested more often. I wonder what that's about. Then they go to the liberals, they go to the liberal police chief if they're there, or anybody else, and they go, yeah, we've got to do better. I mean, this paper ran a story not too long ago that we talked about traffic tickets in the San Francisco. When you have a failure to appear, I mean, that's, if you get a speeding ticket, you pay it. If you don't, then they put a warrant out on you. 50% of the people with failures to appear in San Francisco are black. And when you take that to the county supervisors of San Francisco and you say, what's up with that? All they could say is, we've got to do better about the disparity, because disparity is proof of white racism. Didn't you know that? Oh yeah, if you want to throw a stink bomb into this article, if you want to throw a stink bomb into that San Francisco Examiner newsroom, all you have to do is mention one word. Asian. What are the Asians up to up there? And White Girl Bleed a Lot and Don't Make the Black Kids Angry, we talk about an article that somehow slipped through the filter in that same paper where they talked about the dirty little secret of San Francisco. They did a study over a certain time period in San Francisco. They found out that 85% of the strong arm and the robbery in San Francisco was black people attacking Asian people. We've got to do better, people. That's called San Francisco's dirty little secret. And even today, this whole thing of black on Asian violence is enormous in San Francisco, the area. We've done tons of stories on it in in the Sacramento area. Okay, not exactly San Francisco, but pretty close. Tons of stories on Asian people, victims of black crime and violence, home invasions. What about the Asians? Are they attacking the black people? Are they attacking the white people? What's up with that? What about that disparity? Can we do better on that too? Or do we just have to keep playing this merry-go-round where every single year, every paper does the same damn story, same stupid story that doesn't ask the one question, let alone answer it? Are black people committing more crime than white people? Why can't we even consider that? Why? Why can't we consider that when it's transparently true? One of the people they went to out and to talk to about this article came from, we've seen them before. Does anybody remember a story we did about Bart? One of the first Bart stories we did is Bart was having a lot of trouble on their trains. This is like 4 or 5 years ago. So one of the brainiacs at Bart, probably doesn't work there anymore, said, hey, why don't we get an app? That way, when you're riding Bart, you see somebody like, acting up, threatening somebody, committing vandalism, robbing somebody, disturbing the other passengers, doing crazy unmentionable things on these trains. When you see that, all you got to do is pull your app out and report it. Well, this group called the Ella Baker Center for Human Rights, a bunch of liberals/anarchists in the Bay Area, they worked with a newspaper up there to figure out that something like 70-80% of the complaints on the BART system were concerning black people. And black people only make up like 5 or 10% of the complaints of the riders in BART. Again, nobody wants to ask the question, well, were black people acting out, misbehaving, committing crimes more often than white people and Asian people on that train? No one wants to answer that question, even though they ask it and answer it at the same time in a sub-rosa fashion. The only answer is, of course, black people and white people commit the same amount of crime. That's why there's only one reason for that disparity is white racism. That article made a huge splash up there. It made BART withdraw the app. So now people just have to grin it and bear it. BART has an enormous amount of black violence. God, my favorite story over the last, one of my favorite stories over the last couple of years has been one of the stories we did out of BART. Remember 40 to 60 black people rampaged through a BART train station and a train, beating the piss out of a bunch of white people? And we went on, I got a lot of emails about that, including from people who were there, the cops who were there, or their families. And right away they said, yeah, that was a bunch of black people doing that. So I wrote, hey, a bunch of black people rampaging through the San Francisco Bay Area. What else is new? But then there was a story that in that article, they went to BART and they said, hey, can we see your cameras? Because there's cameras everywhere. Well, it turns out more than half of the cameras that didn't work. Then a month later on one of these Sunday morning talk shows, a member of the board of directors of BART, just a city councilman, I think in Contra Costa, I think it's called. Anyway, she's on the board of directors, and she's talking to one of these Sunday morning reporters. The reporter goes, "Hey, what's up with the videos? Why can't we see the videos? What's up with that crime?" And the lady and the board member goes, "Yeah, I asked our staff the same thing. The staff sent me a letter back. She produced it, and we produced it on video." The letter said, yeah, we have videos, but the reason we're not showing you the video is because we don't want to embarrass black people who are in the videos. Yeah, that's what she said. And the reporter and the board member just looking there going, what? Yeah, that's what they said. And so, by hook or by crook, through one way or another, sometimes it slips out that black people are committing a whole bunch more crime than white people. This, of course, goes against the dominant narrative of our age, the biggest lie of our generation, which is that black people are relentless victims of relentless white racism all the time, everywhere. That explains everything. And in San Francisco, the great world capital of Western liberalism, the disparity is the greatest. 10 times more black people on a per capita basis get arrested than white people. How do you explain that? Wow. Okay, so all we can do now is just wait for the next story, exact story like this to appear in the next town, and the next town, the next town. The befuddled reporter, the numbers that should overwhelm anyone's ability to deny them. The ridiculous social workers going, yes, we have to give them more midnight basketball, which is what the people said here. Oh yeah, I love this one. They said, no, we got to stop arresting people and start giving them community-based programs like restorative justice, because that's what they do in schools, and it really works really well there. Good Lord, what a ridiculous thing to say. Schools where they use that are the worst schools out there. We just did that exact story the other day. I think it was out of South Carolina. They don't suspend or expel people. In St. Louis, they lost like almost every teacher, kindergarten through second grade, because the school stopped suspending people and the students were so abusive. Even that age, the teachers said, I can't take this anymore. Now it keeps happening in San Francisco. It's coast to coast and in between. San Francisco, St. Louis, South Carolina, north, south, east, west, every point of the compass. Different parts of the country, all united by one fundamental fact. Nobody wants to do anything to make the black kids angry.